Hello, and welcome to episode 132 of Prog Review. Now, this review was suggested by a viewer. It's Anathema and Weather Systems. Need a drop of orange juice. Got a bit of a sore throat coming on, so bear with me. Now, I'm no fan of Anathema. I have no interest in them. This is my first time listening to their album. It was on eMusic. It was relatively cheap in credits, so I thought, okay, give it a go. This is supposed to be part of some new wave of prog or some sort of crap, but yeah. I've written extensive notes and I shall begin. This is Weather Systems. They've been doing albums since God knows when, and this is their album from this year. 2012. I'm burning up. I've got a fever. Ever since my daughter started school, she's been bringing home every cough and cold and sneeze and that, and we're suffering here. We're suffering. Put a big yellow cross on the front door. Anyway, the album starts with Untouchable, and it starts with some very inoffensive finger pick guitar before fey male vocals take over, and then in comes the drums, and the production instantly moves from bright to muddy rather quickly. I mean, it is okay. It's a bit repetitive in places, but it's a sort of tune that, you know, teenage girls might listen to as they sit in their bedrooms staring out the window longingly at the boy next door. And then, it gets louder. Yes, indeed. And as it gets louder, the sound becomes mushier and mushier and mushier. And it's a song of angst. And I want to reach for the man-sized tissue and dab away the solitary tear that's come into my eye. And it ends with some faux strings before part two. Yes, it's in two parts before part two kicks in. And the second part of the song begins with some very tasteful piano playing. This is it. The playing is very tasteful. Guitar and piano, very, very, very tasteful. And it's very pleasant so far. But then, the vocals start again. And I'm having an issue with this vocalist. I mean, he's all right, but he's very vanilla. He's X Factor. He's the voice. He's an enunciation. Is the de facto setting in vocalists these days, and there's nothing unique or interesting about his delivery. Nothing to make him actually stand out from the crowd. He functions. He is a functional singer. However, the female vocalist who interjects only too briefly throughout the album is more suited to the songs. I think she should have been given the lead vocal duties. But this music, it's not for me. Oh no, this is for the tormented soul yearning for lost love and generally mooning around in their bedrooms instead of getting their homework done. You know what I mean. I must ask, why did you suggest this? This is the biggest girls' album I've ever had to listen to. Come on, this isn't even funny. The Gathering of the Clouds. Oh yes, begins with sound effects of thunder and rain. You see what they've done there? Weather systems, clouds, thunder, rain. I think there might be a theme developing. And it's all very literal. It's a mid-paced song which has a certain gothic edge to it, but then those bleeding angst-filled vocals kicks in again, and another blast of generic angst-filled pop rock wastes my time. I feel myself growing old indeed. However, I must admit the guitar playing is probably the best thing about the album, and the Lightning song continues with some excellent finger picking indeed. And which is soon complemented by strings. They seem to have a very familiar sound palette throughout the album of acoustic guitar and strings and piano. That's what they do. That's their de facto setting. And, it's all rather genteel. It doesn't particularly feel like a Lightning song, especially when the female vocalist, does her bit. And I must admit, I do enjoy her voice better than the bloke. She's got a good quality to her vocals. But at the end, this is teenage girls' music. You know the ones who think they're goth, but are too scared to go all the way with their arms with the razor blades, if you know what I mean. It's no good. It really isn't. I mean, it picks up towards the end, and the loud sections are, rock by numbers. So much so that I actually want to bang my head on the keyboard. And if I had the CD, I'd be out in the garden playing frisbee with it. Oh yeah. The 5th track on the album sounds very much like what's gone before. Sunlight is a track where all the boyfriends get the chance to nod along, appreciatively at the loud bit, when they start to rock out at the end, holding their lighters adrift. The Storm Before the Calm starts with more sound effects, before a rather interesting loop starts, and the band finally, they start to pick my interest with a melange of voice samples and scattering electronic percussion, and then they go and throw it all away by launching into more middle-of-the-road rock, but then it goes back and forth between the loopy bits and the rocky bits. So at least it's the most structurally and texturally interesting part of the album, but the only problem is I do find this band loves to repeat itself a lot, and that in places I think is a bit lazy. The track fizzles out and the guitars come back, and halfway through we revert back to easy listening mode and plaintive vocals, along with plodding drums and meaningful piano phrasing. And of course we have the big uplifting ending. Oh yes, the big way, and where everyone can join in, like I say, hold their lighters aloft. But this is, though, sunlight. Where's me? Yeah, sunlight. What is it? Is it? No, it's not sunlight. Storm Before the Calm. I'm getting confused here. Maybe I should edit that out. It makes me look like I'm not taking this seriously. Anyway, it's the most satisfying track of the album for me, but I don't think this is progressive rock. Oh no. Next song up is called The Beginning and the End, and I'm hoping that I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning. And it's more piano-led balladry, which again descends into wailing angst rock and a squeal like a pig guitar solo. Fuck this for a game of soldiers. The lead singer obviously forgotten the words at the beginning of The Lost Child because he's just humming. He's in a tunnel somewhere, just humming on his own, before the rest of the band joins in with the old, piano and strings. I mean, it's all very atmospheric. Atmospheric, get it? Atmospheric, weather systems, atmosphere. I work hard for you guys, I really do. But it's the same old piano vocal crap that's paraded out. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm a gambling man. I'm going to bet. I'll make a little wager to myself that this song does the usual piano vocal bit before going all loud at the end. What do you reckon? Do you reckon I'm right? Of course I'm fucking right. Bingo! I win again. What a surprise. It descends into rock by numbers. But hurrah! The last track arrives in the shape of Internal Landscapes, and it begins with some very interesting ambient looping before a man called Joe delivers a monologue about a near-death experience, which happens to be taken from a documentary that was made in 1981. And the man in question is still alive in his 80s and knows all about the album and the song. I mean, it's actually a really nice part of the record. I mean, it really engaged with me, and I was hoping that the band wasn't going to spoil the moment. And then they did. They shit all over it with the usual twee rock crap that they've spurted all over the record, and then it all gets loud and angry before returning to that lovely opening soundtrack. I mean, to say that I hated every second of the album would be unfair. I mean, there were some moments that I liked, like the ambient bits there and the loops, but it's ruined by the cliche and the blindingly obvious. There's nothing progressive about this album, in no way, shape or form. I mean, in places it's got a certain vibe with latter day Marillion, but it lacks the emotional punch of their music. And that's probably down to the fact that you can almost see the high and low points signposted before you. Such is the predictability of the music. And yes, it's a very accomplished recording. I mean, they're very good players, but it's not the record for me. It's too predictable, quite loud, quiet, and the male vocalist lacks any charm in his voice. Also, there's not one decent single guitar solo on the record, despite the acoustic playing being rather good. And the production was quite muddy in places. It was some parts it was almost like I had hot wax poured into my ears. Now, when it comes to a rating, I'm giving this 2 lightning bolts out of 5. Yes, that's 2 lightning bolts out of 5, and one of those is purely for the album cover, which is probably the best thing about it. My name is Darren Lock. I've been talking about Anathema's weather systems. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to wind this up. Thank you for tuning in. You know the routine. Only one more thing to say, and that is prog on.